Most of the time, what we are doing is what we call a general inspection, where we'll show up at a workplace, do an inspection on that workplace, and leave them a piece of paper that says we were there. Other than that, we look after serious injuries and fatalities and what we consider dangerous occurrence, which is basically what a line hit is in most cases. So our occupational health and safety regulations in Saskatchewan here puts a lot of responsibility on the employer to ensure that the locates get done. The other part of that is the individual that's doing the digging, whether they're doing it by hand or whatever, with a piece of equipment, is required to ensure that those locates have been done, that they know where they are, and they understand what it is they're digging, how deep they are. So you probably have to do some daylighting to get the depth, and maybe a couple of different places so you kind of get the path and make sure it looks good. The employers, the workers, the contractors, everybody has responsibility for safety. If we're sent to a line hit, what we look for is the person with the greatest degree of control, okay? So the person with the greatest degree of control to get the line locates done is the employer. Once those are done and we start excavating, the person with the greatest degree of control almost always is going to be the operator. They have the ability to say, whoa, something doesn't look right here. Let's go back. Let's double check our line locates. Maybe we have to do some hand digging or daylighting to find out exactly where that line is. Sometimes you do run across those foremen that kind of say, no, you dig, right? So then it's up to that operator. You got two choices at that time. You either dig or you start a work refusal. There is actually a process for a work refusal within the regulations and the Act. First thing I have to do as the worker, if that's the case, is I go to my supervisor and say, look, I don't want to dig and here's why. And it has to be something that's going to be unusually dangerous to life or health, right? At that point, the supervisor's got to say, okay, let's talk about this, we'll move forward, figure out a way to do it. That's usually how it ends up. If the supervisor and the worker can't come to an agreement, then it goes to the Occupational Health Committee, and they do a bit of an investigation to find out what it is, see if there's a safe way to do it or what has to change. The last step is always going to be able to go to Occupational Health and Safety and have an officer come out and have a look. So the absolute best advice, locates are super, super important to know where that underground infrastructure is. That said, there is underground infrastructure that nobody knows about. Private lines, gas lines, power lines on private property, or even within an organization's property, right, a company's property. And those lines probably aren't going to get located by your typical locators. But you need to know where those lines are because you can strike them too. So the operator needs to take that kind of that look around and see if there's anything that kind of strikes him as being odd. So you got a power line or a gas line coming up out of the ground and there's no lines running to it. Well, kind of tells you that there's a line there. You need to do some locating in order to find it. So our regulations generally are fines to a company. Can run anywhere from $500,000 to $1.5 million. Operators of equipment, they can be fined if they're found the guy as the person with the greatest degree of control and they didn't follow the regulations. We've had workers fined up to $4,900. Generally, it ends up at the organization, not necessarily the individual, although there are times where it just goes right back to the worker. Everybody in a workplace has certain responsibilities. They're laid out. The most common one through all three, whether it is an employer, a contractor, subcontractor, supervisor, or a worker, is everybody must comply with the occupational health and safety regulations in the province of Saskatchewan. Most times when we end up going out to a line hit or any kind of an incident like that, the company's going to get charged one way or the other under one of the regulations, whether it's not having locates done, expired locates, whatever the case happens to be. Every worker in Saskatchewan, every employer, every contractor, every subcontractor has a responsibility to ensure the safety of themselves and their co-workers.